Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to Three Buck Theater, and this is my breakdown of Season 8, Episode 1 of Game of Thrones, titled Winterfell. A nice return to a familiar land. In fact, the opening of the episode so juxtaposes the very first episode. That was actually done on purpose by D.B. Weiss and David Benioff, who wanted to basically take the show back to its beginnings, especially for the very short very short eighth season, but man, what an episode it was. Not a great deal happened ultimately, but it was a nice setup for things to come, a nice setup for the future in the finale of the franchise, and it gave us a lot of really solid revelations. So going through this particular breakdown, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So if you have not seen the episode yet, please come back when you have. I don't want to ruin it for you. I don't want to spoil anything for you unless that's your kink. By all means, let your freak flag fly. So first things first, Jon Snow. Jon at this point is now the full-blown main character of this show. This whole last season is going to be about him, and it makes sense considering what we learned at the end of season 7. Like, hey, Jon, he's not a bastard. He is a Targaryen. Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar. They got down with it, they got dirty with it, and they popped out him. And Ned decided to protect him from all of that in order to, well, make sure he wasn't killed by Robert, which was a noble thing to do. But now that he's gone balls deep in his aunt, it's going to be a little awkward. It's going to be a little awkward because the episode really does focus around him coming home, his reunion with Arya that I thought was very special, his introducing Daenerys to Sansa and Daenerys to everybody, and how they're kind of just a little bit unsure because the Northerners really do not trust anyone outside of being North. So you have that whole thing, but I thought it was really nice. The love story between Dany and Jon is really sweet. It really is. It's really sweet, and I feel bad that Sam dropped the ball on that when that Brann finally told him, like, hey man, hey, listen, you gotta go tell Johnny Boy here that he's been porking his aunt. And but before then, before that particular moment in time, we do have this really nice scene where Dany and Jon fly off on a dragon ride. They go on a dragon ride, and the joke I was making to myself was, well, there goes the entire special effects budget of the entire season. But it was a nice scene because Jon took Dany to where he used to go hunt, and you could see it at that point in time that Daenerys just kind of falls in love with him harder, and they embrace in front of the dragons, and the dragons are watching them. She tells him to not be afraid, but really what it is the dragons can sense the Targaryen blood. They know that he is worthy to ride them. They know that he is one of their own, that he is a Targaryen. Although, of course, Daenerys just believes that this is just the dragons warming up to her because she's warming up to him. Although now that there are kind of like his and her dragons, it should be a very interesting battle sequence when that time arises. Because he does say in that moment, you have now officially ruined horses for me. So I think we're going to see Jon rocking the dragon a little bit more of the season, which is my opinion. But I did like the scene. I did like that scene, knowing damn well what was going to happen, especially when Sam told him that he is he's the king. He's Targaryen blood. And then there's that realization of like, oh, oh, oh. Because I don't know. I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know what he's gonna do. My thoughts on this one ultimately break down to like, I don't think he's gonna tell her. I don't think he's gonna tell her because that's kind of where things are. I just don't think he's gonna tell her. So we'll have to wait and find out on that one. But again, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that whole reveal. Now that the odd part's out of the way. Then we jump over to Daenerys, who is now in this weird position to where it's her first time in the North. It's her first time at Winterfell. It's her first time meeting the Northerners. And it's her also having to establish herself as being a queen and actually meaning it. It's not like leading the Dothraki or the Unsullied. This, of course, is a moment where she has to outright prove that she's a queen and also demand and command the respect that ultimately comes from it. And it's just a very interesting situation with her. We didn't get a lot with Dany outside of the scene with Jon and the scene with Jorah when she explains to Sam that, she had to execute his father and his brother. And that was a really tough scene, because the way I looked at that scene ultimately was Dany was like realizing that her actions have consequences, and that here is this man who helped Jorah, who is a valued member of Team Stark, so to speak, the most trusted person that Jon Snow has, and she's going there to greet him. She's going there to tell him, "Hey, like this is." Like you did a good thing. I'd like to thank you for saving my friend. And then it's like, oh yeah, no, great. Yeah, I need to get a pardon because I stole some shit. Also a sword from my father, the Torleys or the Turleys. And she's like, oh, I barbecued them. Like, and you're gonna be best man at my wedding, right? Crap. But that was a tough scene. That was a real tough scene. And you could see the emotion on everyone's face. And this is the consequences of leading. And that is ultimately what comes up, with the conversation of Sam and John. But Sansa is an interesting one because Sansa is now, I think, fully come into her own. She is definitely her mother's daughter. She is definitely Catelyn's daughter. And you can see that here, where she is ultimately trying to, maintain control, to fight for Winterfell, to fight for the North, to lead her people. And she's not really digging what's going on with Daenerys being there. She's not really digging that Jon lost his crown and gave it away, bent the knee in order to give it to Daenerys, because she feels like that's not what she suffered for. That's not what they fought for. That's not, he gave it up instead of, maintaining control. He gave it up. But Jon keeps telling her, like, this is for the greater good. It's for the greater good. And it's because Daenerys is a good person. And Sansa's like, well, did you bend the knee for the North, or did you bend the knee because you love her? Which again is a very astute question. And even Arya says later on that, or earlier on in the episode, that Sansa is the smartest person she knows, when Jon was trying to, kind of make fun of her a little bit, to make fun of Sansa, like, oh, it's just Sansa. It's just Sansa. And Arya's like, no, I'm defending my sister. I'm defending Sansa. And Sansa sees what's going on. Sansa's not stupid. Like I said, she's full-blown Catelyn Stark now. She is in that mindset. She is the lady of Winterfell, and she's not messing around. And that's actually, I think, one of the best character arcs of the entire series has always been Sansa. Arya is definitely Arya. At this point, Arya is Arya. One of my favorite moments with her in this episode was twofold, actually. Two favorite parts with her. There wasn't a lot with her, but they were both really good. I like it in the beginning when she stood back and let another child run past her to climb the same tree she climbed in the very first season, when the Baratheon, when Robert was coming to go to Winterfell in the very first episode, seeing the juxtaposition from how she was a young woman, or she was a young child, to now she's a young woman, and just how things have changed. And she likes to keep to herself, keep to the distance, keep to the shadows. It's who she is. And Jon even made a mention of that. And even the Hound made a mention of that when they did interact later on, very briefly, where I love the Hound and hers relationship, because the Hound says, you left me to die. And she goes, well, I robbed you first. And he is like, oh, you are a cold-hearted bitch, but that's how you survived this long. Because there's a level of respect there that they both have, which is one of the reasons why my prediction is that they will be teaming up to take on the Mountain. The Clegane, the Hound, has got to do it. He's got to go after the Mountain. That is his mission. That is his end game. And I think Arya is ultimately going to join him in that fight, because he's going to need her and she's going to need him. I think there's a when there are parts in season 3 when they were together, or was it season 4? No, season 3, when they were kind of on their great adventure. I had a lot of fun with that. I really enjoyed that. So I want to see them together again. But really, what it was Arya reconnecting with Gendry that I really liked. I liked that conversation, kind of that playful banter, because obviously, like, she liked him back then and he liked her, and now they're back together again, and they're kind of talking a little bit of crap, but she's being very playful. But I don't know what it was that she was asking Gendry to make. It felt like it was a little blade hidden in something, so she could essentially quickly take somebody out in regards to a situation she might be in. And that to me was interesting, because he's going to make it. This is going to come out later on, and it's going to be used I'm not too sure who it's going to be used to kill. If I had to guess at this point in time, it's either going to be used to kill Cersei, or it's going to be used to kill the Mountain. I think that's what it's going to be. But the other scene I liked with her was when she was talking with Jon and she showed Jon Needle because he gave her that in season 1. And here it's been all these years later and she still has it. And, he asks her, have you ever had to use this? And she goes, 1 or 2 times. My dad and I were watching it together. We both cracked up laughing. It's like, no, Arya straight up murdered people. Arya has straight up fed a dude his own children. You know what I mean? Like, this is a situation where Arya has done some seriously crazy stuff. And it's one of those things that just it cracks me up. She's one of my favorite characters. I'd say probably my favorite character. So I can't wait to see what happens with her over the season. And I really hope she doesn't die. But at the same time, if she does, it would be in a way that would be fitting for the character. I don't think there's going to be many Stark children left by the end of this particular battle. Tyrion didn't get a lot of playtime, but he had a nice interaction with Sansa that I liked. That was the first time they had spoken since Joffrey's death. And then, of course, Tyrion was blamed for Joffrey's death because Sansa took off, even though he had nothing to do with it. And that led everything that happened in regards to, Shay cheating on him with his father and then him killing both her and his dad. So I kind of felt like that was an interesting conversation. There was a lot there that was unsaid, but at the same time, I kind of get like this vibe, like they're going to end up together. Like he will become Lord of Winterfell. I kind of feel like that's where it's going to be because Tyrion doesn't really have anybody left on the romantic side. And they don't have many episodes to introduce him to another hooker. I'm just saying. Roz is dead, so is Shay. That's where we are in this one here, folks. Cersei, I think, had one of the most interesting character arcs for the whole episode. When it comes to Cersei, we know she's the queen. We know she's ruthless. We know she will do whatever it takes. Clearly backstabbing, the agreement she made with Jon and Dany to send the Lannister army up to the north to fight against the White Walkers. Instead, she raided Marjorie Tyrell's keep, got all the gold, and then got mercenaries from the Golden Company. But she was a little disappointed because she really wanted elephants from the Golden Company. They just don't travel well at the sea. So her and Euron have that pact. Euron went and retrieved the Golden Company, brought them back to Blackwater Bay, and they're sitting out there waiting to go somewhere. I don't know where they're going to go. Probably to protect the city when the time is right. Because they're going to sit there and spend the next couple episodes fighting the White Walkers, destroying the Night King, and then it's going to be the last couple episodes are going to be the actual Game of Thrones. We're going to go and fight this, and that's what I think is going to happen there. But it was that scene with Cersei and Euron in the throne room when Euron is like, I'm making my intentions known. I am here to do you. I am here to make you mine. This is what I want. And she played hard to get, but then realized that she still needed him. And so then she gave in to his demands, showing that Cersei knows when to give in to those demands, when to play that feminine card. She knows that, but it still takes its toll on her. And that was an interesting thing because after they had sex and they're talking, she ends up doing that whole thing with he's like, did I please the queen? He does that. And then you just go, what was it like fucking your husband? He goes off about Baratheon and then Jaime and, he's pushing all of the buttons. He's testing the boundaries and she realizes that she needs him. So she's trapped with having him there. But then he puts his hand on her belly and he says, I'm going to put a prince in you. And then he leaves and she starts, almost like sobbing. And it's a weird thing. It takes me back to the prophecy from when she was a kid. You will outlive your children. So that could be a part of it as well. And at this point, she has outlived her children. Joffrey, Tommen, Marcella, all dead. In all very, very violent ways. All those kids died. She's still alive. So she's clearly outliving your kids there. So, having another one means that she's going to outlive it, according to the curse. The curse she believes is real. So that's a situation that I find to be fascinating with her character because she's so just like lost in it, but are we meant to feel sympathy for her? And I don't want to feel sympathy for her, to be honest with you. I really don't want to feel sympathy for her at all. Bronn, not long in the episode, but they set him up for a very interesting situation and also a real quick throwaway gag that I thought was great, but still, they didn't do much with that. We only really got to see Bronn with hookers. He was at home in bed, about ready to have sex with 3 women when Cersei's the priest guy comes in. I don't remember his name right now, and tells all the girls to take off. Cersei needs them for something, and he looks at one of the girls and says, "Oh, such a shame. She'll be dead from the pox within a year." And Bronn's like, "Which one? Like, I don't want to get a disease." And then they move on immediately. So that was a fun little line. Nothing about dying from a disease is funny. It just the way he responded to it, like, oh shit, because he is Bronn, he's very selfish. But then he gets tasked with killing Tyrion and Jaime, and with a crossbow. I mean, predominantly Tyrion, and Cersei knows that Bronn very much has a relationship with Tyrion, and Tyrion trusts him. He could get close to Tyrion, and Jaime as well. And Jaime had left, so she wants him to kill both of them. And he's the one guy who could get close enough without raising any alarms to do it. Is Bronn going to do it? I mean, no, he's not. It's Bronn. It's Bronn. Tyrion and Bronn's grand adventure from the season 2 was some of the best stuff in the season. Those two, they get it, man. Oh no, season 1 as well when they met, at the Vale. Like I thought that was great. Like he's not going to do it. He's going to double cross him for the greater good. Don't kill off Bronn. Bronn's my second favorite character on the show. I love Bronn. Sam had a hell of an episode. Predominantly because he found out about his brother and his father, which I already talked about, and then was tasked by Brann to tell Jon, "Hey man, you're diddling your aunt. Oh, by the way, you also are like the rightful heir to the throne." So there's that. But I also don't quite understand how he's the rightful heir to the throne. I don't know how the lineage works on that particular front. So I'll have to figure that one out. But ultimately, that was Sam. No Tilly. No Gilly and no baby Sam in this episode. They're still at the Citadel, safe for right now. I hope they show up. I hope he gets happy with them. And I wonder what's going to happen now that he's technically a lord. I mean, by birthright, he is technically now a lord. So that should be interesting if that plays out at all. Theon had a hell of a brief moment in the episode where he finally actually grew a pair after he lost a pair, and showed up and saved Yara from being held on Euron's ship. And that is a brief scene. Then they steal a couple ships and they take off. And she wants to go back to the Iron Islands in order to save it, to protect it in case Daenerys falls. They can't contain the wall and they need a place to stay. They can take refuge in the Iron Islands. But Theon wants to go to Winterfell and he wants to fight. I think Theon is on a redemption arc that he very much wants to see through to the end. And I don't think Theon's going to survive, but I think he's going to go out in a pretty good way and make up for all the bad shit he did in the first couple of seasons. Euron, again, not much. There's so much going on in this episode. There wasn't much with Euron, but there was the line when he was talking to Yara and he was like, "I'm not going to kill you. You're my family. Plus, I have no one else to talk to." And a lot of these guys are mute. And it's just, you could see he wants to interact with somebody, but he also wants, I think, someone he can pseudo trust. I like the scene because you could tell he was lonely, and he just wanted to keep her around as someone to talk to, even though she was family. I think he would have killed her one way or the other, to be honest with you, but that was good. And then, of course, him with Cersei in the throne room, you can just see the arrogance, but I think Cersei's going to kill him as soon as he's not useful to her anymore. As soon as he's outlived his usefulness, she's going to kill him, and she's going to very much do it in a very violent way, or the mountain's going to just gut him. But he's not going to survive for much longer, I don't think. Finally, we did get to see a bit more Gendry. Not much with him in this episode outside of the scene with Arya. But what I liked about it, though, from his perspective, was that this is what he's meant to do. He is a weaponsmith. He is a blacksmith. This is what they got. Dragon glass. They're going to be making all the weapons that they need. He's running the forge. This is what Gendry is born to do. And I like the axe he made for Clegane. He made him a dragon glass axe, which is pretty dope. I can't wait to see that thing in action. And I think he himself is going to get his hammer, and he's going to go out there and kick some serious ass. And I'm glad to see Gendry back. I've always liked the character, so I'm very happy with that. And then finally, Jaime. Jaime, again, didn't have much, but what we did get of Jaime was definitely something that made my dad and I go, oh, shit. And again, goes right back to season 1, episode 1. When Jaime gets to Winterfell, he's looking around, seeing no one recognizes him. He thinks he's safe. And then he sees Brann. And Brann is just staring right back at him. And Jaime's got that look of, oh, shit, I am so dead. And then the episode ends. And of course, the next episode shows us that he interacts with everybody. And it may not do well for Jaime, but I think Jaime is on the right track. Jaime's not going to survive. I think he's going to be the one to kill Cersei, but he's definitely not going to survive. But it was good to see Jaime there trying to do right. And I feel like that's kind of what this season's going to be about, is realizing that people have made mistakes, realizing that people want to grow and they want to change and they don't want to be engaged in this kind of shit anymore. But there's characters that I didn't talk about that aren't listed here on the screen. There's a lot going on. There's so many characters now that it is very, very, very difficult to break all of them down. But this, of course, are my thoughts, my breakdown of season 8, episode 1, Winterfell. What are your thoughts? What did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys all later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.